Hey everyone, is Atomic Heart a Russian-based Bioshock? Are both games similar or are they drastically different? Will Atomic Heart be the next successful franchise that follows in the footsteps of the foundation that Bioshock created? Be sure to watch this video all the way till the end and I'll answer those questions and more within this video. I'm Eric from the Bioshock Hub and I hope you enjoy today's video. Now, there's been a lot of articles and talks about Atomic Heart being compared to Bioshock. More specifically, a Bioshock that's set within the USSR in an alternate timeline of history. Now, by no means am I a game reviewer, so don't expect an in-depth review. However, I'm going to give you fair points on both sides, where Atomic Heart and Bioshock are similar and how they're different. I'll also be giving you a spoiler warning in this video about Atomic Heart. If you're planning on playing it for yourself, please come back to this video after completing the game. I wouldn't want to ruin it for you. With that being said, let's see how Atomic Heart compares head-to-head with Bioshock. And first of all, we'll be comparing the likeness and the similarities between the two games. After that, I'll dive into the differences. With that being said, let's begin. In Atomic Heart, you have power-ups like cryogenic freeze, shock, shields, and more. The list goes on. And just like the plasmids in Bioshock, everything has its own energy source. For Bioshock and plasmids, it's Atom. For Atomic Heart, it's made from a polymer experiment. The only difference here is that you can continuously use your powers in Atomic Heart, however, they do have a cooldown timer. There isn't really anything to refill them per se, like, let's say, an Eve Hypo. You can also upgrade your power-ups in Atomic Heart using a specific material. This is basically a skill tree type of upgrading system. With plasmids, we're able to strengthen them through Atom by saving or harvesting little sisters, and we can also upgrade our tonics through research and, of course, Atom. So you have a companion with you, or two I should say, who eventually turns on you in the game. I won't go into exact detail what happens, obviously to avoid spoilers, play it for yourself, but in Atomic Heart, Dr. Sechenov has you do a lot of missions for him, and your friend Charles gives you information or responds to questions. During the entirety of this time, Agent P3 thinks of Sechenov as almost a father figure. He treats him with the utmost respect and calls him Sir, all while Sechenov is friendly in reciprocation. At one point in Atomic Heart, you find out that everything you were told and everything you think isn't the truth, however. Obviously, in Bioshock, we had Atlas. He helped us navigate all throughout Rapture and telling you all of the negative things that Andrew Ryan has done. Atlas is acting like our friend, our buddy, and our guide. Eventually, as you and I both know, Atlas has you kill Andrew Ryan, your own father, and essentially stabs you in the back and then reveals himself as Frank Fontaine. You can upgrade your weapons through a sort of vending machine and crafting station as well, just like the Power to the People machines and the You Invent stations. You can change weapon upgrades like magazine size, barrel size, and much more. These are robotic, almost refrigerator-like upgrade stations within Atomic Heart. Of course, to upgrade in Atomic Heart, you need to scavenge and loot specific materials and items for specific weapons and specific items. In that regard, the only thing that these upgrade stations and the Power to the People machines have in common are that they only allow you to upgrade the weapons that you want to upgrade. Scavenging for materials is also present in both games. For Atomic Heart, Agent P3 uses Charles and telekinesis to collect his supplies and put them in his inventory, while Jack can search things like boxes, crates, garbage cans, dead splicers, and more for his supplies. In Atomic Heart, there's a lot of surrounding stories to the game that aren't incorporated within the main campaign. For example, you're able to piece together stories, whether it's through talking to dead people, and yes, talking to dead people, it makes sense within the context of the game, talking to Charles, or reading messages on computers, etc. In Bioshock, we obviously have audio diaries to tell stories, along with seeing ghosts that allow us to see into a person's past that used Adam. We can also see the aftermath of how bad splicing was, how awful Rapture truly was, and being able to put together other people's stories piece by piece and bit by bit. I personally love this specific style of storytelling within video games. We obviously have our main story, but we have so many side stories to discover by ourselves and also put together by ourselves. So, in my opinion, that is pretty neat. Both stories happen to follow a very complex yet truly thoughtful story all throughout, especially on your first playthrough. I remember becoming so engrossed with characters, enemies, the combat system, and my overall thought process while playing both Bioshock and Atomic Heart. I wanted to learn more about their worlds, their characters, their backstories, and more. I wanted to learn all about the enemies, I wanted to learn about each game's settings, and I wanted to see how both games played. In my opinion, in terms of telling a story that engrosses you and makes you want to learn more about it, Bioshock is a perfect example of that, and Atomic Heart does well in its own right too. Also, in other segues, both Atomic Heart and Bioshock have similar weapon storage and ammo types, along with how you heal. For example, both games have weapon wheels. Both games allow you to carry a generous amount of ammo and special ammo in your reserves, and both allow you to carry items to heal yourself. The only small difference is that with Atomic Heart, you have to pick your weapons, ammo, special ammo, health, and other performance enhancers into an almost Resident Evil type of inventory system, meaning that you have very selective spots to take up everything that you want to use. Also with this, some of the weapons will require more slots to be filled and to actually be involved in your inventory. Pick your loadout and your items thoughtfully, because your playthrough, depending on which difficulty you play on, will strongly depend on it. Now with the similarities out of the way, let's talk about some major differences between these two games. One of the biggest differences between Bioshock and Atomic Heart are how you obtain weapons. In Bioshock, it's extremely simple. You're essentially led right to a weapon, and you can upgrade it at any time when you find a power to the people machine. In Atomic Heart, however, you need to first find a specific blueprint for a weapon, or if you have enough material, you can create one. Then, you have to make sure you've obtained all the necessary materials to craft it. And you finally have to worry about ammo consumption constantly. So, ammo, supplies, materials, blueprints, it's very, very messy in my opinion. If you're also going to upgrade your arsenal of weapons in Atomic Heart, which I would highly recommend that you do, please do yourself a favor and look up the blueprint guides. It'll definitely be worth it, and it'll benefit you in your playthrough, and also make sure to loot as much as humanly possible to stock up on all of the materials and supplies that you can. Now let's move on to boss battles. Instead of fighting a sub-boss like Sander Cohen or Peach Wilkins for example, in Atomic Heart you have to face full-blown bosses, which are usually giant robots with huge health pools, and it is a very tough fight, especially having to learn each individual's combat system, their techniques, their attacks, etc. The combat of these boss fights feels more like a Doom experience, with having to dodge attacks and having a slight hint of Bioshock in there with your power-ups. On top of that, the overall combat system and mechanics are much more fast-paced in Atomic Heart, which I don't personally mind. However, in Bioshock, we have a much more grounded and simplified combat system. Some of the bosses you come across in Atomic Heart are extremely tanky and they're essentially bullet sponges, just to give you a heads up. I wanted to personally test one of these fights with an enemy called the Ploosh, which is a boss fight, and I wanted to do it on the lowest difficulty. Even on Peaceful Atom, Atomic Heart's easy difficulty, it was an absolute bullet sponge and the entire fight was a battle of attrition. Unlike in Bioshock, where you can roam around level by level, Atomic Heart feels like a much more open world type of game. You're able to cover much more ground, which also means you have to cover much more ground in Atomic Heart, and it seems that the map is huge in comparison to Bioshock. This isn't a bad thing by any means, but the styles of exploration are drastically different from Atomic Heart to Bioshock. In Rapture, I feel that I can take my time and explore each level at my own pace. If I want to go through an area quickly, I can. If I want to take my time, I can also do that. But with Atomic Heart, there's so many enemies wandering around, and there's huge groups of enemies wandering around in the areas that you have to go. Exploring and looting almost loses its value. It's a lot more of a high risk and reward situation. So if you're going to try and loot something, make sure you have a lot of ammo, make sure you have good weapons, and be ready to fight a ton of enemies. Now, a huge, and I mean huge, difference is that Atomic Heart has a ton of critical thinking puzzles. Some are a lot easier than others, and some are just downright annoying and rage-inducing. For example, there's a puzzle where you have to use your shock ability to EMP targets to reach a specific location. There's a laser lock system that you have to align the lasers by rotating plates in order to actually unlock a specific area. And another example is a lock that you need to find a note with that lock's specific unlock pattern. If we look on the other side of the coin here at Bioshock, we really don't have any sort of puzzles. The closest things that I can think of to a quote-unquote puzzle are the hacking minigame and finding the right audio diary for a specifically locked door code. So, you tell me, which one sounds a lot more easy to do, and which one sounds a little bit more frustrating? These final two things that I'd like to discuss are more nitpicks on my end, but I still feel that they're important. In Bioshock, supplies seem to be scattered throughout the entirety of Rapture, whereas supplies are rather minimal in Atomic Heart. You really don't collect ammo or health regenerations too often, like your medkits and etc. They're more of craftable items, depending if you have enough resources to be able to do so in Atomic Heart. We have it rather simple in Bioshock, but it's a whole other story when we're talking about Atomic Heart. Bioshock gives you a lot of useful supplies while you're looting. For example, items like ammunition, health kits, Eve hypos, crafting materials for the U-Invent machines, and more. Whereas in Atomic Heart, you're only able to loot specific areas with random loot being collected in return. Sure, you can randomly find some ammo, but sometimes it's not even for a gun that you have. You can find your health kits, or your health regens, I should say, and other supplies as well, but the crafting system, in my opinion, would be the way to go. Another big one for me are the almost flashback-like experiences and trips that Agent P3 seems to randomly go on. These seem so out of place while you're playing the game, but I partially understand why they're there. Agent P3 is a World War II veteran who was involved in some sort of near-death event. Dr. Sechnov saved him, but Agent P3's memory took a severe hit. I imagine there was some sort of mental conditioning that Dr. Sechnov put within Agent P3, and these events are a way for him to start remembering what really happened, or for his brain to kind of cope with whatever happened. Bioshock only has two phrases for Jack, that being "Would you kindly" and "Code Yellow." Sure, there was slight imagery in Jack's case, but nothing like these almost acid-like episodes in Atomic Heart. Now, I do know what actually happens with Agent P3, but again, since I mentioned the spoiler warning at the start of the video, I'm gonna let you guys figure that out for yourself. So, the question remains, is Atomic Heart comparable to Bioshock, or is Atomic Heart a quote-unquote Russian Bioshock? Though it certainly took some inspiration from the game, I'm gonna have to say no. Atomic Heart is its own experience with inspiration taken from various games. Does that mean it's a bad game? For me personally, I found myself enjoying it while playing. It managed to keep me interested with its beautiful settings, its gameplay, its fast-paced combat system, and I found the boss fights to be extremely entertaining and satisfying. If I could give you any recommendation, however, play it on Game Pass if you have Xbox or if you play on PC. I personally did this not only to save myself the full price of the game, but because I also wanted to see if I'd enjoy it, rather than regretting a $60 or $60+ disappointment if I were to buy it or buy a collector's edition of the game. With that all being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Leave a comment down below discussing your personal experience with Atomic Heart, and let me know where you stand with the comparison of both games. I'm really interested in hearing what you all have to say. I wanted to also take this opportunity to announce that I've officially launched a Patreon page. If that interests you and you want to check it out, you can do so by clicking the link that's down in the description below. Thank you in advance. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, would you kindly subscribe to the channel? We're currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers, so it'd be very much appreciated. Liking the video and turning on all post notifications by hitting the bell is also greatly appreciated. If you'd like to stay up to date with me outside of YouTube, my social media accounts and Discord server are the best ways to do so. The links to those will be down in the description as well. Once again, thank you all for watching this video, and with that being said, take care, and I'll talk to you all again very, very soon.